Hey friends, this is our first video Q&A for Let's Go Comic Show, and I'm just throwing it out there. It's a little loose, and I got a couple questions we're going to answer. So first thing, getting right down into it, you can follow the Let's Go Comic Show on Instagram and Twitter at Let's Go Comic Show, or you can just follow me at J_Rocka, or follow my co-host, Mr. Matt Ritchie, at Matt Ritchie, keeping it simple for you to follow. And so anytime you have like any type of question or comment about the show or comics in general, just throw them our way, and maybe we'll try to do some of these more video-focused programs and just see how you guys like them. But for right now, I'm going to get into some of the questions that we got, and I don't know if I can do all of them, but we're going to try. So here we go from Miles Wallace. At the Miles Wallace, he asked, do you prefer Batman's origin, A, Joe Chill killed his parents, B, Jack Napier killed his parents, Batman never learns who killed his parents, or D, other? I think I prefer it being Joe Chill killing his parents. Like, to go back a little bit, history, I thought it was Jack Napier, because Batman 89 came out, and I was like, Joker killed his parents? Dang, that's messed up. But, as you get yourself educated, you see like, oh, okay, Joe Chill's the guy who did it, just some random thief in the night, I think it's a little more powerful when, Bruce Wayne's able to stop him, because what I like is that he thinks stopping, not stopping, but catching Joe Chill is going to kind of end that turmoil, and it doesn't. And so that's why I like that, hey, he caught the guy, and he knows he's going to continue this war, not because of himself, but so it doesn't happen to others, which is impossible. But that's like the determination that he has as a character. And so I think that's what makes Batman cool, is it's a never ending war. He can't stop doing this because it could happen to somebody else. I don't have too much of a problem with it being just a nameless, faceless person that he never catches, but I like the kind of the dichotomy of oh, I'm going to catch this guy and I'm going to put him away for what he did, and everything's done. And then, but that's not the case. He keeps on because it doesn't quench that thirst for vengeance, right? It doesn't stop that desire to continue to do what he was really put on this earth to do, in SB Batman. So anyways, good question. He's got another question. I get most of the comics through the online apps. I really like using the smart panel viewing. I'm curious if you prefer smart panel or full page viewing. I think the different modes change the experience a bit, and I know the artists put effort into how the full page should look. Yeah, it really depends. I remember when New 52 came out, and one of their big things was pushing digital, the digital experience, and artists were doing a lot of big, full page spreads and stuff like that. That was part of their initial hey, with New 52, we're gonna hit new starts for the characters, whatever. But the digital initiative was going to be hey, we're creating comics a different way. Now, you'll notice with a lot of the digital releases they were like that. A lot of the comics that they put, I think it was Injustice and stuff like that, a lot of them were coming out, widescreen, so that, if you're reading this way with your iPad, they created the experience that way. To me, it doesn't really matter. If it's a really, cool splash page, I'll double tap to check it out, but I typically read my comics on digital, page to page. That's how I like it. It's half and half with me. I mean, I only buy comics digitally when there's a good sale, or typically you can get I got all of Tom King's Vision, it was the director's cut. It was 300 and something pages, and I got it for $5. I couldn't miss that, and it was amazing. And there are times I do like to do panel by panel, but I feel like the experience is funner when it's just full page. Currently, I'm going to grab my iPad right now that I have, and it is kind of funny because we smell the floppies here on the Let's Go Comic Show. Love it. I love how they smell. But sometimes, in order to just get through my stack, I will put the digital code on my iPad. That's what I do. Miles Morales #2 Spider-Man, been reading that. It's a good book, but it's man, with my life, how am I going to sit down in the office, read some comics, that luxury life. So sometimes it's easy to kind of read them in bed on the iPad. It's illuminated, get through them. I wish DC did. I love that Marvel puts the digital code in my comics. I guess you can say, hey, why don't you just buy them digitally? I like going to the shop, and when they get a little older. I have this whole stack here. It was just some comics I'm still trying to go through. Some detective comics. Look at that. Look at these amazing, like, Norm Brayfogle covers. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Love it. But they smell good, man. They got that smell. Someone needs to put that as a cologne because, let me tell you, you can call it Old Yellow Page or something like that. All right. But it depends. Depends on what's on the page. Double tap, swipe, whatever. Thank you, dude. Okay, we got some questions coming from Vigilante 1939. Must be some kind of a Batman fan. All right. As a little kid, there was nothing like opening a comic and getting amazed by its cover. But with comic stores not as popular anymore, how do you entice a new generation into comic books? Man, that's a crazy question because I think people say comics are dying, comics are dying. I think it is shrinking, but I mean, you go to Comic Con and it's blowing up, and it's now beyond the comic book page and into things like video games, movies, obviously, cartoons. So kids are still getting into comics and the characters. Like my little boys, they love superheroes. Lego is like their number one import of like how they get involved with this stuff. Lego movies, not like the ones that go to the theater all the time. They like those, but there's the direct-to-video ones they do. They love those characters. Batman Brave and the Bold was a huge thing for them to like experience new characters. I think DC does a really good job at bringing their characters to the forefront for kids. Marvel did okay, but I always felt like their kid shows kind of goofy, like Superhero Squad. My kids didn't connect much to it, but my kids love Batman Brave and the Bold. They watched a little bit of Young Justice, but it kind of went over their heads sometimes. But yeah, make stuff that people like. Video games. Kids love video games. Teenagers love video games. I love video games. You can experience these characters in a different way. Like, as a purist, I'm always going to go for the page, but for, to keep everything alive, I think they're doing a good job with movies and TV and stuff. But I think comics are always going to exist on some level. They may adapt and move to just something like, hey, maybe it's all digital. They just release everything digitally or, collected. I don't know. I really don't know. I think a good comic shop, trying to change the question a little bit, as long as you keep your shop nice and friendly to new visitors and stuff. I want to shout out a shop I go to, shop called Quest in Redlands and in Los Angeles, California. They have a great shop. And so if you never even read comics, you can walk in there and find something. Keeping trades, like when Walking Dead came out, that was a really great way for people to jump into a comic shop, and it did. It brought people in, and Walking Dead collections were like some of the best bought comic books because people were curious, like, what is this all about? It was a comic, I want to read it. And so just being user friendly to your people, I think that's the best way. However how old you are, because I know people that they're in their 30s, like, I'm gonna start reading comics. I didn't know they were like as deep or the stories were as involved as I thought they were. So yeah, keep it relevant. So good question. We got, with it being 2019, do you think, not because of their popularity, but should we be past always trying to rely on villains such as Green Goblin, Lex Luthor, and the Joker to draw audiences in the superhero movies? I don't know if they draw people into superhero movies, but I think if you're going to have longevity in a film series, you probably need to bring different characters in. But I think like you get your Lex Luthor's is, that's brand recognition. Oh, I know Lex Luthor. Okay. Like you throw something crazy, like Atomic Skull in there. Like I'm going to be like, ooh, Atomic Skull. Like my buddy who doesn't read comics is going to be like, who the heck's that? Maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. Just tell a good story. I think that's what matters. But I think on the Marvel side of things, it kind of sucks when you got to reboot all the time. Spider-Man's on his third reboot. So you kind of want to run in there with Green Goblin, like get those classic, villains in there, because everyone has some kind of familiarity, whether you grew up on the comics as a kid and fell away, or, the video games, or, cartoons. But, yeah, throw them on the wall. There's a lot of bad guys out there. Not all of them are great. And so I have no problem going back to the well. Here's the thing with Green Goblin, they've done it twice. Both times are a little, actually, I didn't mind the Willem Dafoe version. A lot of people didn't like his costume. I mean, I get it. It was 2000, 2002. People were like, people ain't gonna buy a Goblin suit. And then we probably would have. Anyways. All right, so let's see. We got something from Dad L. Dad L. He says, favorite comics you've read on the DCU app you never read before. Man, That's a hard one because I feel like I've hit some single issues in there, like some early Batmans. There were some Jason Todd issues I was reading on there that I never read before in my life. I don't know the specific numbers. And I know this isn't an exact answer to your question, but I did go through and reread The Longbow Hunters because the Green Arrow story by Mike Grell, that thing was really cool to kind of revisit that. I think Longbow Hunters doesn't get the recognition it should. It kind of came out in the midst of the 80s. You know, you got Watchmen and Dark Knight and stuff like that. Longbow Hunters is a pretty gnarly story. And I think that everyone should read it, especially if you're a Green Arrow fan and a comic book fan at that. But that was when I revisited because I read it at a way young age. Like, FYI, sometimes, you know, your parents don't check everything that you buy. And my cousins, who are like a year younger than me, 2 years younger than me, they just went and bought a big grab bag of comics. And I remember we're just reading Longbow Hunters and we're like 11 and 10. And it's like a little intense for 11 and 10-year-olds. But yeah, I got to reread it as a grown up, you know, like 20, 30 years later. And good story. So I love that DC Universe app. I love that it curates. I know a lot of people are like, it should be like Marvel Unlimited, but let me tell you, Marvel Unlimited is great. I have it, and it's good to go back and read anything you want. But chances are, I'm not reading everything on Marvel Unlimited. I'm reading things that kind of pick my interest, you know. And what DCU does is they're like, here's some things we want you to read. Like, I love a curation because it kind of helps guide and throw me into new stories. You know, if you give me everything, I don't know what to grab from. If you give me a select few things, I'm like, okay, chances are I'm going to read that more now because you're like putting it in front of my face than like me searching for something. So I really like how they do that. Some of the old Titans issues I actually went through. Now that I think about it, like, you know, I didn't read all those George Perez and Wolfman Titans issues, so I got to read a whole bunch of that stuff on the app. So that was fun. It was fun to be able to deep dive on that. So, okay, we got one more question here from Rob Meyer from Everyone Loves a Drake podcast. Is there one thing you wish the big two would stop doing? Yes. Here's what I wish the big two would stop doing. Stop renumbering comics. It is the one thing that drives me nuts. And I imagine if we go back to the earlier question, like, what's a good way to get people from not being crazy in comic shops? Can you imagine being a guy who's like, hey man, I just saw Into the Spider-Verse. I'm really excited to read more about Peter Parker, Miles Morales. Let me jump in. Like, poor Miles Morales. Fantastic character. You want to read his books, it's a little confusing. I think he's been around since 2011. He's had like 4 series. I even might be wrong. So there's been like Ultimate Spider-Man, you know, Miles Morales, Ultimate Spider-Man, Spider-Man starring Miles Morales. And it's very confusing, like to buy, oh, I'm gonna buy number 2. You're flipping through the back issue bin, and it's probably not organized, so you're gonna get number 2 and 3 from 2 different series. That's gonna be very confusing. Now you jump over to Peter Parker, and it's even more confusing. There's been like, I think, 6 Amazing Spider-Man series. Now Marvel has been doing the legacy numbering in the corner. That's great. And here's what you know. Amazing Spider-Man, it just hit, what was it, 800 or whatever. As soon as it hits 900, they're going to revert back to old numbering anyways. It's really frustrating. Now DC's doing it. We're on 3 volumes of Batman. I like that they put Action Detective back to their original number to hit that 1,000 mark. I don't think people are intimidated by high numbers. I think they just want to, like, what is easy for me to jump into? I know they like to reset a lot. Number 1, new team, new this. You don't always have to do that. Like Bendis was able to jump on Action. They didn't renumber, obviously, because they just hit 1,000. It was kind of a good entry point. But they just renumbered the Superman series that they just started with Rebirth. Don't think that's necessary. Same thing with Justice League. They did it for the Scott Snyder run. Just new team. Like, if it's a good artist and a good writer, I'll jump on. Because those things level out anyways. You're going to get high orders on a number 1. And then it just kind of, you know, evens itself out. But you put a good writer on there, you might not get that number 1 sale like you usually do, but you're going to get, I think, more longevity. People stay on the book. That's my opinion. It's not based on science or anything like that, but how I feel. That's so frustrating. Like, you know, high numbers are not intimidating. It's just like, okay, that's where we're at. We're at 802 right now. Okay, cool. So now I know I can go back to, you know, I can start this at 750 for the whole storyline. So anyways, that was it. So thank you guys. Thank you for letting me like hang out a little bit. It was fun. Maybe we'll do more if you guys like them. Let me remind you, we have 1 week left to give away this guy right here, Black Mana. This is Black Mana Funko Pop. Look at, oh yeah, sorry, the light's reflecting on him a little bit, but like the water of the ocean reflecting on him. So I'd love to give this away. All you gotta do is follow the show on Twitter and Instagram. Leave us a 5-star review on the iTunes podcast store. Leave us a review, and then we'll be doing the drawing next week, and we'll be sending him to you. So it'd be quite nice to put that on your shelf. Have Black Man is staring at you, this little spear gun, like take you out. All right, my name is Justin. Thank you for watching our Q&A for the Let's Go Comic Show. And this will be on our YouTube channel. You can check that out, and all the other videos from our podcast for Let's Go Comic Show, Let's Go Podcast, and fun little things that may pop up on there. All right, thank you guys. Thank you for subscribing. Hit that little button, say subscribe. Look, I hit the mic. Sorry about that. Amateur. Subscribe. Thank you guys so much. Share it with your friends. Say, oh, look, they answered my question. Or maybe you disagree. Leave it in the comments below and say, like, man, you are wrong. Longbow Hunters is a terrible comic book. I can't believe you read that. Can't believe your aunt and uncle let you read that when you were 11 and 10. It's like they didn't know. Remember I told you? So, yeah. And what do you think about Batman's origin? You think he should know? You think Joe Chill should be faceless? Any other questions? Love answering questions. Send them to us. We'll do them on the show, on the podcast on Wednesdays, or we can do here on, Saturday morning. Maybe you heard some lawnmowers going, some kids playing video games in the other room. Who knows? Just hang out with me. All right? Thank you guys. Also remind you, you know what? You can sign up for the Patreon. If you go to www.patreon.com/letsgopodcast, you can sign up and, get some stuff. You can get some buttons, some stickers. I'm sitting on boxes of stuff to give away down here. So many things right here. I got a whole, just slot of stuff to give away. I'd love to give it to you. But sign up for the Patreon. Throw a couple bucks our way. That way we can help us make the show a little bit better. Maybe I can get a light in here so I don't have to be room light with some blinds in my face, right? You're like, this looks like an amateur show. It is. It's a total amateur show. But yeah, anyway, sign up for that. That'd be great. Thank you. Thank you for watching. I'm going to ramble on. Let's go.